Today's tough question brought to you by Zen Sports. At least in Tennessee, that's where the money's supposed to go. Here we go.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, Caleb brought this up in the 3:45 a.m. production meeting, and I got to be honest with you. I rethought it afterwards, Caleb, so I'm going to throw a left curve at you, or left hook, a curve ball at you, whatever you want to call it. Is Tennessee, South Carolina, the Vols' most important game of the year for recruiting purposes? That is today's tough question. I'm going to change it. Is it even more important than that? And I'm going to tell you why it is. It's brought to you by Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares. On Zen Sports, what you see is what you get. And with their cash rewards program, you get a lot of cash. For a welcome bonus, earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the promo code HOOKED. That's HOOKED. That's right. Unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting, keep earning with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that, and refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Zen Sports betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 and over and in Tennessee to bet. It's bigger than just the most important game of the year for recruiting purposes. It's the most important game of the year, period, in the discussion. And I'm going to tell you why. If Tennessee drops this one, they've already lost to Florida. They will be underdogs against Alabama and Georgia. You are looking at a potential 4-loss SEC team if things don't get back on track on Saturday. I think it is monstrous. Why don't you address the recruiting aspect of it first and why you think it's so important? We went over that in the 3:45 a.m. production meeting. It is monstrous from a recruiting standpoint because Tennessee, as the Celebrate 98 series will attest, was at their best when they recruited the Carolinas. So take me down that path with those that don't know.
Well, it's half and that and half what you just said. I mean, the first half, just to add on what you just said, if they lose to South Carolina, you're going to lose to Alabama and Georgia, and you're pushing 7-5. You're fighting to not be 7-5 or 6-6, which would just wreck you on the recruiting trail in general and wreck all the momentum you've had that Josh Heupel built. So it's already the most important game of the year. I agree for that reason. Now, on recruiting specifically with South Carolina, look, guys, Tennessee is in a rare opportunity to really, really cash in. Clemson is struggling as a football program. I mean, we're seeing a program that's dramatically on the decline. I think Dabo Swinney did himself no favors railing against NIL and refusing to go into the transfer portal. And by the way, he can't get his credibility back with recruits. Dave, you know this. Like, the minute you lose your credibility, you really don't get it back. That red flag is there forever. So Clemson is sliding, and they are sliding fast. Believe me. South Carolina is still a wild card. Their win over Tennessee last year literally saved the program and kept it afloat. I mean, Shane Beamer might have been fired by the end of last year. I'm not sure he would have been, but they got about 4 blue chip recruits specifically because of how they finished the season last year. Period. End of story. They wouldn't have gotten them, and 2 of them would have ended up in Tennessee at a bare minimum. So South Carolina, Tennessee needs to not just beat them. They need to send the program into a death spiral. Because if they need to beat the brakes off them. I mean, blow them out. Let everybody know last year was a fluke, because Tennessee and Josh Heupel need to make it clear that they are the better program. Josh Heupel and Shane Beamer took over the same year in 2021. Tennessee cannot let South Carolina get competitive, because with Clemson sliding, if they beat South Carolina handily, South Carolina is Tennessee's place for the taking. They can go win there, and they can pick their litter of recruits. And more importantly than that, I think eventually the SEC is going to do the pod system, the 3 SEC teams that you play permanently and 6 rotating teams. All signs point to South Carolina being one of the teams Tennessee plays annually. And if that happens, Tennessee needs to make sure that that it's very clear South Carolina is not on their level. One of the things that destroyed Tennessee in the 2000s, Mark Richt going to Georgia was the biggest. I think you would agree with me on that, Dave, right? That probably did the most damage to Tennessee recruiting. They couldn't pick pocket Georgia anymore the way they could.
True, and he was a good enough coach that they won their fair share of games too.
Exactly, which is why they were able to kind of close off the pipeline Tennessee built. What also hurt Tennessee? Lou Holtz going to South Carolina, and then Steve Spurrier going to South Carolina, and Dabo Swinney building up Clemson. By the 2010s, Steve Spurrier and Dabo Swinney are both rolling, icing out South Carolina. Georgia is Georgia. Where was Tennessee going to go for recruiting? That's why the 2010s, that is the biggest reason the 2010s was a decade of dysfunction. They couldn't recruit South Carolina and Georgia.
Hey, I want to bring out a comment from SC Scout Guy because I think he's one of our better commenters. He said, Caleb, stop talking nonsense. There is zero chance Shane was even close to being fired. I'm gonna back my guy here, Caleb Calhoun. I think that it was maybe a little bit closer than you think. Not fired, but at least going into the offseason on the hot seat before the Tennessee and Clemson game. Maybe that's a common ground we have, SC Scout Guy.
Yeah, I would. You're right. I wouldn't say he was going to be fired last year, but I do think there would have been a put up or shut up movement because South Carolina would have finished 6-7 had they not won those 2 games. And 6-7 Shane Beamer's second year would have been a really bad look because, guys, they were looking really bad before that Tennessee game. I will never forget how low morale was surrounding South Carolina before the Tennessee game, quite honestly. It was one of the best turnarounds for a program I'd seen it. I give them credit for that. But, yeah, it did a number on Tennessee. They lost Mazeo Bennett specifically because of that game.